The famous play The Massacre at Paris by Christopher Marlowe, the story takes place in France during a time of great religious tension. The country is divided between Catholics and Protestants, known as Huguenots. Hatred, fear, and political ambition rule the land, and beneath the grand ceremonies of the royal court, violence is waiting to erupt. The play begins with a moment that seems peaceful on the surface. In Paris, a grand royal wedding is being prepared. The Catholic princess Margaret of Valois is about to marry Henry of Navarre, a Protestant leader. This marriage is meant to bring peace between Catholics and Protestants after years of bloody conflict. The streets of Paris are busy, filled with nobles, soldiers, and citizens who believe this union might finally end the violence. But not everyone believes in peace. Queen Catherine de' Medici, the powerful and ambitious mother of King Charles IX, secretly despises the Protestants. She sees them as a threat to Catholic power and to her own influence over France. Although she smiles politely and supports the wedding publicly, inside she is full of hatred and plans revenge. Catherine speaks privately with the Duke of Guise, a fierce Catholic leader known for his cruelty and ambition. Guise hates the Protestants deeply and dreams of wiping them out completely. Catherine encourages his hatred. Together, they plan something terrible. They agree that the wedding is the perfect opportunity to destroy the Protestant leaders, who will all be gathered in Paris. Meanwhile, Admiral Coligny, a respected Protestant leader, trusts the king and believes peace is truly possible. He advises King Charles and gains influence at court. This angers Catherine, who fears losing control over her son. She decides that Coligny must die. An attempt is made on Coligny's life. He is shot, but survives, badly wounded. The Protestants are furious and demand justice. King Charles promises to punish whoever is responsible. Catherine pretends to support this promise, but secretly she grows more desperate. She fears the Protestants will rise up and take power. Late at night, Catherine visits King Charles. She frightens him with lies, telling him that the Protestants are planning to kill him and overthrow the Catholic rulers. She plays on his fears and weak mind, pushing him toward violence. At last, terrified and confused, the king agrees to act. He gives the fatal order. The bells of Paris ring in the night. This is the signal for slaughter. Catholic soldiers rush into the streets. Protestant homes are broken into. Men, women, and children are dragged from their beds and murdered without mercy. Blood fills the streets of Paris. Screams echo through the city. Friends kill neighbors. Brothers kill brothers. This is the St. Bartholomew's Day Massacre. Guise leads the violence with savage joy. He personally ensures that Admiral Coligny is killed. Coligny is dragged from his bed and stabbed repeatedly. His body is thrown from a window. Guise stands over the corpse, mocking it, proud of his cruelty. The violence spreads beyond Paris. Across France, Protestants are hunted down and slaughtered. Churches are filled with blood. Bodies pile up in rivers. The massacre becomes a national horror. Henry of Navarre, the Protestant groom, is trapped in Paris. To save his life, he pretends to convert to Catholicism. Though he survives, he is deeply humiliated and filled with quiet rage. He waits patiently, knowing that one day he will escape and seek revenge. King Charles is haunted by what he has done. He cannot sleep. He sees ghosts and hears screams in his mind. The bloodshed has destroyed his peace. His health declines rapidly. Catherine tries to calm him, but she cannot silence his guilt. Guise, however, grows stronger. His power increases, and his ambition knows limits. He believes he is chosen by God to rule France. He begins to challenge the authority of the king himself. Soon, King Charles dies, weak and tormented. His brother, Henry III, becomes king. Henry III is intelligent but indecisive. He fears Guise's power and resents Catherine's control. France remains unstable, torn by religious hatred and political intrigue. Guise openly defies the king. He parades through Paris as if he already owns it. The people cheer him, and the Catholic League supports him fully. Henry III realizes that Guise is now his greatest enemy. At last, Henry III makes a bold decision. He invites Guise to a private meeting, pretending reconciliation. Guise, confident and arrogant, accepts the invitation without suspicion. When Guise enters the chamber, royal guards attack him. He fights fiercely but is overwhelmed. He is stabbed again and again until he falls dead. His body is displayed as proof of the king's authority. Catherine de' Medici, old and weakened, hears of Guise's death. The loss of her greatest ally breaks her spirit. Soon after, she dies, her life ending in fear and regret. The Catholic League rises in anger. They call Henry III a traitor. France descends once more into chaos. Henry III is eventually assassinated by a Catholic monk who believes he is killing a sinner. With Henry III dead, the crown passes to Henry of Navarre, the same man who survived the massacre years earlier. After years of struggle, he finally claims the throne as King Henry IV of France. Henry IV chooses a different path. Though he has suffered deeply, he understands that endless violence will destroy the nation. To unite France, he converts to Catholicism, not out of fear, but out of strategy. He declares that peace is more valuable than pride. Under Henry IV, the religious wars slowly come to an end. The bloodshed that began with hatred and ambition finally fades, leaving behind a warning written in history. The play closes with the memory of the massacre still heavy in the air. Thousands are dead, families are destroyed, kings and queens have fallen. Marlowe's story does not celebrate victory. It exposes the horror of power, fanaticism, and cruelty. The Massacre at Paris stands as a grim reminder of what happens when religion is used as a weapon, when ambition replaces mercy, and when human lives are treated as tools in the struggle for control. I hope you have enjoyed this play, but please like the video and subscribe the channel. Thank you.